Okay, here we are again. We are on another project, and what we're working on right now is going to be this little water assembly issue, or at least an issue to me, and kind of some valving, and then the installation of a 1600 grain water softener. So I'm going to start right off right here. So anyone who owns one of these, this little water, so let me let's see if I can just pop this out of here. I obviously changed this. So what I did here, the little unit that was here was nearly useless. So let me see if I can find it here real quick. So what they had was this little valve assembly that comes from back here. And this piece literally is barely through that hole. And I mean, when I mean barely through the hole, like where my fingers are, that's where the back of it was. And then you had to spin this. Now, like I can't spin that. See that? Not like that. See how easy that is? See, even that one's a little tough, but at least you can get your hands on that one. But this one, look at that. And this one's all brass. It came with a seal. Not a big fan of these seals. Kind of like the round ones, Vitons or even Buna, those are fine. But this is extremely hard, and when I was trying to hook the hose up, it was really hard to deal with. Not only that, but basically it's kind of back in there, and it doesn't really, your hose doesn't fit in here. Now I like to use the Flexzillas, and I like these little spin-on connectors because these will rotate. Let's see if I can kind of pinch this up here. So these ones you can actually just rotate, and then the hose stays still, but you can rotate kind of put that together. And they have this really nice handle to get a hold of. I like those. Not only that, but that hose, super soft, cold, hot, doesn't matter. It's easy to put up, that kind of thing. And anyway, so that's what I prefer to use. And that obviously wouldn't fit in this like assembly in this door and stuff right here. I mean, my thumb barely fits in there. And so what I had done is I wanted to run a water softener. So I kind of took all this apart and that kind of thing. And this light, oh, it's working now. Cool. Yeah, see, now it doesn't work. Kind of push on it a little bit. It's that ATC quality. ATC quality. Anyway, so what I did was I bought this fitting, and I'll kind of show you, but it's brass all the way through, has a nice check valve on it. This is made by like JR Performance or something like that. I do have a little bit of history with the JR Performance brand. I use their switches in our motorhome on our seats. Our seats have, I don't know, like 8 switches or something on them. And one of them alone is like the 11-way power adjustment or something. And then there's like an air switch, because the seats are like all air, so they massage and all that kind of stuff. But then there's the switch that kicks the foot out. And my wife was just constant, she wasn't feeling good one year, and she was in and out, and ended up kind of burning, like pinching one of the wires underneath the seat, kind of catching the seat on fire, which was interesting. I mean, we got it unplugged, and that was the end of it. And, I basically had to rewire the entire seat in order to make it work again, which it does. Anyway, circling back to why JR is because I really like the quality of the component. This seal, although seems kind of cheesy, the component itself is actually very well built. You can kind of see here, I did notch it around the switch, and then I cut the flat plate underneath there so that I could actually mount this in here. And then I used some existing black screws that I actually found in this camper. I found like 7 or 8 of them in this camper, just in random locations, just laying there. I did, if you notice, so this valve now goes down for city, and it actually goes to the left now for filling the tank, even though that one shows that. So I took a picture of this. I'm going to completely duplicate it, except I'm going to turn this whole valve around to where it operates the way that this one does now, just in case we ever sell it. There's no question as to how it works. So anyway, so let's move on to the inside. So this one right here, so just so you guys know, this one's kind of cheap and chintzy. It's all plastic, like that kind of thing. There's no check valve on this, just so you know. And but it does have an aluminum plate behind it, and it's screwed into that aluminum plate. But then there's like bars. There's bars all around this whole assembly here. So they actually structured this whole thing really well, actually. I mean, I know I complain a lot about the build quality and stuff like that, but this is actually, you know, pretty reinforced in here. I'm pretty happy with that, just in case anybody wants to know. Now, this is garbage. Like, this would have been a lot cooler. Oh, sorry. This would have been a lot cooler if they did another one of those, like, fuel doors like they have on the other side. And then you open that door, and then there is a fitting in the bottom right there where you can run your water through. And it would also be kind of cool if your electrical ran through that as well, with some plates. Like, our motorhome has these plates in the floor. Take the plates out, and then you can run your lines through it. And it's, you know, and then they would drop out underneath down here. And I think that would be, like, really aesthetically pleasing on this, because, I mean, the whole camper is pretty kick butt, dude, as far as, like, how nice it looks and things like that. And then you got, like, this, like, cheesy hose hanging out of the side, and then kind of that cheesy electrical kind of hanging out of the side. Kind of trailer trashes it a little bit for me, considering the price tag of these things and the attitude they're trying to have towards what these are. And most of the people that own them, you know, they're buying it because it's a nice rig. Anyway, so what we're doing here, so this is going to be your check valve and everything. This is going to be for your black tank here. I'll kind of come around here a little bit. So this is your black tank, check valve here for the black tank, and this goes down. That's what this one is for the black tank. This valve here kind of looks a little jacked up, and it's mostly because I flipped the thing over. And that's why that valve on the front side kind of operates the opposite direction, is because I actually flipped this whole valve over. Now, in the process of me working on this, these right here do not spin. Doesn't spin. Just so you guys know, these spin just fine. These are a compression fitting. This is still a compression fitting. But if you go to take any of this loose, hold this one while you take this one loose, right? Because the drawback that you're going to have here is that you're going to snap this thing off, and there's a little seal in here. And this is threaded, but boy, it takes nothing, absolutely nothing to break those threads. And this valve right here, as of January of 2025, is like $155. So, and that's just the valve. That doesn't include any of this other stuff. It's just the valve alone. And then this is an extension plate. It doesn't include that. Doesn't include the little switching, like the little arm and stuff like that. So just so you guys know, like that sucker is expensive. Anyway, so what I've done here is you can see that this is all brand new check valve, and I actually ran the shark bite because if I want to be able to take it all apart, I can. And then I came down and then I kind of color coded how it went. This one's actually going to the water softener. This one's coming back from the water softener, because when you switch that valve, basically when I switch it, it goes from that side, you know, where it runs out into the manifold for the whole rig, or it comes back and it goes down and it fills the tanks, right? And then this is your little bypass. Excuse me. Anyway, so what I did was because I'm running a water softener, and I'll kind of show you that in a minute, but basically I wanted to be able to kind of run a brand new system here that was much more rigid. And the reason for that is I've got a little fitting coming in that's going to go in here that's going to kind of step that out a little bit, because this isn't quite long enough to get outside of the camper. Let me get that out of the way. To get outside of the camper so that I can actually hook my line up without it running into the side of the camper. So I've got a little adapter that's going to kind of step that out a little bit and give me some space. And then I'll put this in, you know, and then I'll be able to close the door. So I'll kind of show you here. I'm just going to kind of janky that together a little bit. Let me pull that out. That's my little door insulation there. So what I'm doing here, as you can kind of see here, is my goal is the door can be nice and shut, and then I'll have my hose just drop down right there. This will be for this one, and this one I just kind of left on here because that's what's going to go in that little fitting I'm going to put on there. But neat and tidy, right? And then that hose will just connect right up to it, and it'll just drop straight down. And then you know, basically it'll be kind of a gravity force because it'll be a straight linear force down instead of kind of coming out and kind of bending on that. And if you remember right, all that force is put on this thing right here, right? So all of that force is put on this, so that thing's sticking out like that, and this is threaded into that valve. So just try to envision this valve being, this part is right here. Okay, so sorry. So this part was down here where this is, and then you can see this piece right here. This piece was kind of basically like that, right? Or let me rephrase. So it was kind of like that, right? And this is kind of beat up because I actually hooked it up to my water softener earlier. Not today, just when we first bought it. But anyway, so that's what it kind of looked like. And then all of the force of your hose is on this little like neck hanging through that hole right there. So there's really, and there's no support for this when it's hanging in there, none. And this thing here is a check valve. Like this piece here, this is a check valve. But anyway, yeah, there was a kind of these little notches. You can see I really kind of tore it up because I use Nipix pliers, and I can tell you what, if you don't own a pair of those, go to a store, grab a pair, and go like clamp them down on a piece of pipe and then torque down on them, and you'll find out why Nipix pliers are pretty much the best on the market. I've owned them for nearly 30 years. I think they're fantastic. Anyway, I just love Nipix. Anyway, so I guess what I'm getting at is you guys should really take notice of this right here. And if you wanted to, like if you didn't want to run a water softener like I am, like I wanted mine to be kind of just in here. Like I don't want to set it up outside or anything. I just want to run my water line and a filter. I usually run the filter right off their spigot. That way if they got any garbage, it's not in any of my water lines, it's not in my rig, it's not anywhere, it's not in my water softener or nothing. So I usually put it at the spigot, the filter, and then I'll just run my water line over here, and I think it just keeps everything really clean. Anyway, so these are apparently like a new style shark bite fitting. It's supposed to be a little bit stronger. I didn't realize that they were weak to begin with. I thought they were pretty solid. So I color coded this one. Obviously this one's going to the softener, this one's coming back from the softener, and then the little valve kind of switches things up. But basically there it is. I know I keep talking, but you can kind of see where I ran those two lines. And I did tie it off. Let me try to get my finger in there. So I did tie it off right there. I didn't tie the top one off, I just tied that one off. The top one's got a little torque on it, so I'm gonna kind of leave it. But it runs in behind the hydraulic pump. There's quite a bit of space. Oh, sorry. So it runs in behind that water pump. There's quite a bit of space right there. And then I do have it tied up over by that water softener. So it's tied up. Oh, so it's tied up to that pipe. I'll just show you when I get over there since it's gonna autofocus on something else. So I'll just go over there real quick. Okay, so you can see right here where I kind of tied that one off, and then they're both tied off right there. That was probably super loud, sorry. So I both tied them off to the pipe right there and then tied it to that pipe. I did try to actually stick this in that void right there between those two. I think one is a breather for the black tank. So like this one right here. So this one right here is actually a breather for the black tank, and I think that is from the bathroom sink. And remember, there's a 45-28, so that's kind of how the layout is. But there's a huge void between the battery and that wall underneath these two pipes, and I really thought I'd be able to stick this in there. And it did kind of fit. Like I took that battery loose, and it did kind of fit, but it was putting too much torque on those two lines. Like they would be kind of rubbing on it, and I'm not interested in that. I'm really not. I don't want anything really rubbing on anything, especially if I can't like just secure it. So, and then in the process of, let me try to zoom out. So in the process of putting this in, I took this battery loose when I was trying to see if I could fit it in there. These are just kind of screwed in at the top because you can have this thing one way or the other, right? And in the process of that, I realized that my battery cables this rail right here was rubbing those two battery cables. So let me kind of zoom in a little bit. I don't know if I can really show that all that well, but those two battery cables, and let me see if I can kind of, there you go. So you can kind of see there where there's a gap there now. Those cables actually rubbed the paint right off the edge of this thing down there. So that was super not cool. I mean, could you imagine going down the road and having these things arc out? I mean, wow. That'd be catastrophic, right? Because you would arc out these batteries, and look at the amp hours on these batteries. Anyway, so what I did was I reaffixed. Let me zoom out a little bit. So I reaffixed the battery cables. They kind of run along the back side of that pipe right there. The cable clamps that are on there, I moved those up so that it would actually pull those cables like up a little bit. And in the process of that, it actually pulled that part of those cables up a little bit. And then I was able to kind of tie them together. And then tying them together, because they are like a single lot cable or something, or whatever they want to call them. Anyway, in the process of that, it did pick them up and suck them in. So it did a really good job. So I have them like wire tied together in like 4 different places. I don't know if I'm going to end up with like resonance issues, like frequency issues out of the cable, because it is just welding cable. So it's not really shielded or anything like that. So I don't know if I'm going to run into frequency issues with the inverter, but time will tell. But I think rubbing right there on that rail is far more important than frequency issues or resonance issues with them changing frequency because of the electrical. Anyway, okay, so let's move back to the water softener, and you can see that I kind of jankied this together a little bit. So the reason I did that is because, one, it is wedged right against this right here. 2, it is wedged right against this rail. Now this is the one that moves. This one doesn't move at all, so it's right against that rail. And then 3, it fits right between those two pieces right there. So the battery's holding it, that's holding it, that's holding it. And I thought, you know what? Like, look at that. She doesn't move, right? So just to be on the safe side, I did put this kind of little janky thing on here. This goes through the fuel center, so it's got one back here. Now let's see here. You can kind of see the one I put back there to hold on to it there, and then one here. Now, to ensure the fact that I didn't have any fuel vapor through the system or anything like that, these are actually bolted. These are not screws, they're bolted. And the back side has a thick rubber washer behind it that collapsed down. And it's stuff that I've done in the past to kind of, to kind of water simplify something if I don't want any water, and for this matter, it'd be vapor coming through. So these aren't going anywhere, and these are just some clamps I had sitting around. So, but yeah, this holds on to it pretty darn good. I mean, it's not moving anyway, but just in case, you slam on the brakes, hit the gas hard, I mean, whatever, right? I'm kind of I'd like to be done with it. And this right here, because of the amount of traveling that we do, this right here about every 6 months, I'll need to pop out and regen it. But I can also regen it from there, because I can just pop the PEX out, because I have that little fancy tool. I can just pop the PEX right out of it and put caps on those, on the 2 PEX. And then basically just put like a little 90 on it and have it come out this bay, and I can just regen it from here. But other than that, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. So now the water softener is what I call kind of permanently in, and my valving over there and everything is done now. And now I'm going to work on a few other little projects. I got a couple of reels coming in. One of them's going to be for the 50 amp power cord. And then the other one's technically for a 50 amp power cord, but I think I'm going to put like a, look at all that mess. I'm going to go to the other side, it looks better. Snoozing. Anyway, so right here, I'll have like a 50 amp. It's a more ride, just like these guys. It's a more ride like crank 50 amp reel. And I watched some videos on those. I actually think that it'll work really good for what I'm doing. It just fits in here. It's not super big. And what I'll be able to do, I'm going to kind of beta test how I'm going to put it all together and stuff, just kind of like I do everything. And I'll have one for the cord reel, and then I'll have one where I wrap the hose reel up on it, like the water line. So then right here, I'll have two of them side by side, but one's going to be for water and one's going to be for the electrical. And then that'll kind of clean everything up right here and make it a lot easier. Like I won't have, like, I mean, see the pile? I won't have a pile of that and a pile of this and a pile of all the fittings for this stuff. And then this cord. Now I did order a new cord. It's supposed to be way more flexible, right? I kind of discussed how like rigid. I mean, look at that, so rigid. I did order one that's a little softer, but I can't wait to kind of put it on the reel, because then I think that that'll make things a lot better. And then again, it doesn't come straight out and put all of that force on there. It actually comes out at a 90. So it does kind of blanket some of the force off of it. But I'll make another video of kind of my project that's going to happen right here, and then the reels, because I think that those would be kind of cool for people who own ATCs too. Like they should have kind of came that way, but whatever. Like they could have been, all this electrical could have been moved over, and there could have been a cord reel right here. Just saying, you know, they're not that expensive. And for the cost of these rigs, like it's little things like that that really make ownership of something like this like 5 stars, right? But I'll show you guys what's coming next. And hopefully if you guys have kind of, you know, thought about how janky this little door assembly thing is, which, what did I just lock myself in there? Ah, look at that. Oh, there we go. Just gotta rotate it. There we go. Okay, yeah, as janky as this thing is, like this, I mean, look at this. It's way more in there than it was before, and you can actually get your fingers on it to open it and close it. And then again, you have to turn that down for city, and then turn it to the right now for filling tanks. But either way, it works great. Okay, awesome. Well, there it is, and you guys have an awesome day. And so this one is going to be valve and softener, and then the battery cable issue. So there you go. All right, bye.